Well, break out the actuaries and the claims adjusters because that escalated quickly. Holy shit. Renegade Online. So news is circulating today. If you haven't seen this, maybe you have. Don't care. I know you're here to get my take on it anyway, and I appreciate you being here. I guess before I get into this, let me go ahead and say thank you to everyone. We are rapidly closing in on 900 subs here at the last day of June. If we can get over that today, that hump today, that would be absolutely fantastic. That would be 5 months on YouTube, 900 subs. If we're going to make the 6-month mark by August 1st, which would be right around that anniversary, to make 1,000, that'd be great. So I appreciate you guys being here. Please like the video, share it out, subscribe if you haven't already. I know based on the YouTube metrics, I get a lot of viewers on these videos that just haven't subscribed yet, so I would appreciate it if you do that today. So here we go with Indy 5. Now, I have not talked about this that much because to this point, I have not felt the need to. I have not felt the urge to. There just hasn't been enough on this that really has gotten me going. And I think we all remember where we started was here, just about a month ago. Indiana Jones 5 to begin filming in the UK next week. And of course, this is almost a month old now. So yes, about 3 weeks ago is when principal photography began out in the UK at Pinewood Studios for Harrison Ford and the crew of Indy 5. Now, regardless of what you think this movie might be or might wind up being, that's probably another story altogether, another video. I know there's some concerns about the people involved, certainly Kathleen Kennedy being principal among them. But as I have said, in fact, and reiterated again, kind of went over in one of my recent videos, my last video, in fact, with the one and only Cameron Pasha, where that issue of Indy 5 as part of Kathleen Kennedy's farewell, bye-bye, go-away package from Disney. Again, this is all playing a part into it, and that, from that angle, we are going to discuss in the latter half of this video, so stay tuned to that, because I do think this is going to add an interesting wrinkle to the whole Kennedy situation, because this pushes the timetable back quite a bit if this pans out to be true. Now, here we were, Indiana Jones to begin filming in the UK 3 weeks ago, and then ruh-roh, Harrison Ford injures his shoulder while rehearsing a fight scene for Indiana Jones 5. Now, there has been some discrepancy as time has gone on. Was he rehearsing it? Were they actually shooting? To be honest with you, in terms of the insurance side of this, which we're going to talk about as well, it really doesn't matter. And we'll discuss why, whether he was rehearsing the scene in front of a camera or in a room with a bunch of mats, or if he was in front of a camera hanging from a fly wire. In and of itself, it really doesn't make a difference. If he was in the process of working on the set, if he was doing something in connection with his contract in this production, it's kind of irrelevant. But at first, it was an injured shoulder during rehearsing a fight scene, and it really wasn't going to be a big deal. It should not cause any major delays to production. Right? Wrong. Getting worse. So again, a few days after that, now it's not a big deal anymore. Right now, it is kind of a big deal because now a 79-year-old almost gentleman is going to have surgery on this shoulder, according to reports. And then that pushed the timetable out to where Harrison Ford may not be available for, it could be 4 to 6 weeks, somewhere in that time frame, which if a man of that age, especially having surgery, anybody having surgery on their shoulder, that's probably a not unreasonable time frame for recovery to where he'd still have or regain full mobility of that shoulder once again. But then this morning, this dropped. 3 months. 3 months of Harrison Ford not being available to continue principal photography. Now, again, this could be way off the mark. We don't know yet. Recovery could still be much quicker. We hope so. We wish the man well. I'm a big Indiana Jones fan. I want this to be a good movie. I think, like a lot of people, I do have my reservations at this point, for good reason. But we'll see how it turns out. But this is a death blow for a production like this. This is just absolutely unbelievable. So I know it comes from The Sun. I realize it's a tabloid magazine, and I realize it's kind of a take this as it is with, at face value. The source, not always the best source of information. However, I have seen other sites basically referencing from day one all of those leaked set photos. A lot of those did originate from The Sun. So I think it stands to reason, give them a wide berth. They probably do have somebody on the ground who's been passing them information, because it seems to this point that they've been getting information that is borne out. So this may very well be true also. And again, if you consider his age, you consider the nature of the injury to his shoulder, it's probably not something that's going to heal easily, especially when the man is expected to be in an action movie where he's doing fight scenes. So let's talk about this for a minute from the business standpoint. Now, anytime a production gets delayed at all, it costs money. Now, of course, the larger the scale of the production, the more money it's going to cost the studio. In this case, 3 months of production postponement is basically the entire length of time that they would have initially dedicated to principal photography, meaning the amount of time actually in the field with actors in front of a camera shooting the photography for the movie, so that you have things all in the can, as they say, or really now on the hard drives, on the SSDs, ready to go to post-production for editing, for color grading, for VFX, everything else that they're going to do in post, sound engineering, things like that. This is a tremendous delay because these types of workers, the crew, the cast, everybody involved in this, these are contractors, right? Lucasfilm will go out, any movie studio will go out and hire, a camera crew team, ABC Hollywood Camera Operators Incorporated, whatever. They're going to go out and they're going to hire a crew of grips. They're going to go out and hire a sound crew, a company that does sound. All these different companies, and they all kind of work at union rates and things like these, are all very standardized contracts out in Hollywood, how this works. It's, typically movie studios don't really employ their own giant crews to keep on staff 24/7, 365. You contract this kind of stuff out. So in so doing, when you do this, just like you book a space at, in this case, Pinewood Studios. And they probably booked Pinewood Studios for 30 days or 60 days, depending how much they were going to do inside a soundstage versus out in the field somewhere like they have been shooting as well. So all of that is now shot, if this is to be believed. All of that is now shot. And it's not like Pinewood Studios just says, no worries. We'll give you your money back. We have 5 other productions lined up ready to move in here tomorrow. No, that's not how it works, because these things have a very, very long planning time. They have a very long development time. When you book studios at a place like Pinewood, or really anywhere, you're talking about booking months, sometimes years in advance, to reserve a space to be able to film. And if you miss your window, you're out the money, you're out the space. You may or may not be able to get back in there. But the point is, the bottom line is, this is another Kennedy disaster when it comes to production. I mean, when you go back and you look at 3 out of the 5 Star Wars films radically running over costs of production, and not because of any, accidental happenstance where you have a, lead actor. Well, Harrison Ford did get injured. He also got injured at Pinewood Studios in the Millennium Falcon for The Force Awakens. So I guess maybe Harrison's luck with Kathy and Lucasfilm movies was not that great, but obviously it was nothing that was that detrimental to the production. Harrison Ford was not the principal actor of the movie. He was not in every scene, and he, you could shoot around that. You can't shoot around Indiana Jones movies without Indy. So there's no way around this. There's only so much that these crews can film and still put together a viable anything without having Harrison Ford there. Now, where this comes into play, like I said, with Kathleen Kennedy, all the overruns and costs that she's had on 3 out of 5 Star Wars films, that's a little bit different because this was Kathy literally firing writers and directors 50%, 70%, 80% of the way through these projects, replacing them, and then going back through massive reshoots because she was a completely, or still is really, a completely incompetent studio head. She is an absolute wreck. I don't even think she should balance her own personal checkbook, in my opinion, just based on what I've seen from her as a studio head. She is an absolute god-awful mess, and Disney will be well to be rid of her, if nothing else from the financial standpoint. Now, this sort of thing, this is a little bit different, but you had to know going in the risks involved, and quite frankly, I'm a little amazed that they were able to actually secure the production insurance for this kind of production. When you have, it's not like Patrick Stewart playing Picard again. He's not running around jumping off buildings and getting in fights, swinging whips, gunshots everywhere. I think there's a limited amount of action in that as compared to an Indiana Jones movie. And this is a guy, Harrison Ford, who's notorious for liking, to do his own stunts, and especially at his age. So, of course, the propensity for something like this is much greater. But let's talk about the insurance, because this is the important part that I want everybody to understand, okay? Right now, if Disney has allocated somewhere around $200 million, which is probably about where they're at for Indy 5, maybe north of that, maybe pushing 250, okay? Harrison Ford does not come cheap, especially to get him back in the Indiana Jones hat. That's his moneymaker. Everybody knows it. And he's also going to be getting a piece of the box office on the back end, make no bones about it. But, any film production, one of the largest line items of expenses that they have, largest single line item of expense once you get past, paying the director, paying the lead actors, things like that, is the insurance on these kind of productions. And this insurance will cover things like injuries on set, damage to public or private property that the production may be leasing, accidental damage. So for example, if a production shoots in downtown Atlanta, and they block off 3 blocks of the main drag in downtown Atlanta, they're buying production insurance in the event that during their filming they damage any commercial property, any city property, any buildings or things like that in the production. They have insurance that covers that. It also covers injuries to people that are on the cast and crew, injuries to people that are not. This is general liability insurance. And I've been an insurance producer, guys, for nearly 20 years. I have never sold commercial film production insurance. That's a highly specialized thing. But the thing is, insurance generally works all the same way. It's designed to cover, a particular type of risk, and indemnify somebody from a loss if that risk arises. Okay. And that's what's going on here is right now. And let me show you this. This is what Disney's dealing with. If I can find the right slide here. All right, so this is it. This is Aon Insurance. This is a very, very big insurance company. One of their specialties is doing film production insurance. In fact, this was the insurance company, to my knowledge, that has insured some really big productions, including some of the Lord of the Rings movies and stuff like that. So they know their way around big budget productions. I'm not saying this is the crew that's insuring it for Disney Lucasfilm. I'm saying this is the kind of company that would do it, okay? I don't know who they have, and I don't care. It really doesn't matter. All these kind of commercial package policies work the same way. You buy one policy that kind of covers a multitude of eventualities, a multitude of risks that you're trying to, protect the policyholder from. And in this case, it's not just the risk about Harrison Ford getting injured. Harrison's Ford injury, if the insurance is going to cover that because it happened on the set, whether it happened in rehearsal or happened in front of a camera, really doesn't matter. If Harrison Ford was injured in the course of producing this film in any capacity, it would generally fall under the coverage of this kind of policy. Even if it didn't, the cost compared to this production would be negligible. A couple of $100,000 to put Harrison through surgery and get him back is probably what you're looking at. Big whoop-de-doo on a $250 million production budget. That's not what is scary. What's scary, and this is the point of the video, what's really scary right now is you best believe that whoever is covering this production is going to be looking at this through a very, very, big, fat microscope. They're going to be examining the entirety of what happened, and it wouldn't surprise me if we find out a little bit more information as time goes on, because what that insurance company right now is looking at is possibly indemnifying Disney to the tune of, I don't know, 50, 75, $100 million in lost production. Because again, all of those contractors, those sound guys, the camera operators, the grips, everybody, I mean, all the people that go into this, Pinewood Studios, all of these people that are booked under contract, they're getting paid. They're getting paid by contract, whether they sit around with their thumbs in their butts or they're shooting. It doesn't matter. And if they're not going to be shooting for the next 90 days, basically their contracts are getting paid out, because it's not like they can turn around and just go find another movie to work on in the interim. That's not how it works. This is done well in advance. Getting to the wrong slide again. Let's go back to this real quick, and I'm going to show you here. After the initial delays, everyone was raring to go, but now Harrison is injured, and it's worse than we first thought. The film's bosses have come together to work out the scheduling, and it's chaos. The earliest they think they can restart the production is September. It's not what everyone was expecting, so to have to change everything is a huge blow. Blah, 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 blah. At the time, Disney released a statement confirming the news and saying that filming would continue. It was then revealed that Harrison would need surgery, and then now the film crew have got at least 12 weeks of thumb twiddling. They'd better get used to it. So, yeah, I mean, I'm sure Disney's intention was to continue filming, and I'm sure they did. I'm sure they probably continued filming on the schedule that they had, using up as much time as they were already contractually obligated to pay for this crew, and probably get the shots in the can that they could. But at some point, that's going to run out. That is going to run out. And they're not going to have anything left to do. And without Harrison Ford there, they're going to be faced with a difficult situation. And the insurance company, again, it's going to be interesting to see how that pans out. You kind of have to wonder, would the insurance company come in and say, well, hey, we weren't covering Harrison Ford doing his own stunts. The man's almost 80 years old. What happens then? I'm not saying that did happen. I'm not saying they did that. I'm just saying, what if? Now, typically you would think they would have gone in, because I think it's pretty, it's been pretty widely known that Ford was going to do a lot of his own work, and I'm sure the insurance company was aware of that. Maybe not to the extent, who knows? Like I said, the guy has a track record of getting injured on sets. So we'll see what happens. We're going to keep our eye on this, but this is definitely going to set things back. Finally, on the Kennedy angle. And this is the last part of it. We've been discussing that Kathleen Kennedy's contract is up for renewal every 3 years on October 30th. That's when it goes from start to expiration. And the last time it was renewed was Halloween of 2018. So we're coming up on that third year now. As Cameron and I discussed last week, the news has been pretty quiet. We have not heard a whole lot of information on this. And I don't expect we will until much closer to that date. And at that point, it's probably going to be that she's effectively retiring. Now, how this is working with Indy, and I've said this before, I believe Indiana Jones 5 was her parting gift to exit her out the door quietly. Lifetime non-disclosure agreement. Don't go write a tell-all book. Don't bash Bob Iger. Don't bash Bob Chapek. Don't run out and start saying that Disney is run by a bunch of chauvinists and sexists and making hell because Kathleen Kennedy, love her or hate her, she can make a lot of noise in Hollywood, folks. You have to understand that as much as we'd all love to see Kathleen Kennedy get some kind of like fan justice, to where she's publicly humiliated, fired from Disney, shamed, called, the worst thing that ever happened to Star Wars and the biggest disaster, and we're so sorry about, ever renewing her contract and blah, blah, blah. It just isn't going to happen, guys. It's not ever going to happen. And we're going to have to be satisfied with her leaving and then having the ability going forward potentially to really finally get some good Star Wars or some more, proper Star Wars from Disney. That's the best we can hope for. And if that's the goal, then getting her out of the way is the big first step. And that, of course, would include her story group, which I think will be following her out the door if they're not going already. I think they're probably already, shopping for new jobs. I don't think that's much of a guess at this point. So with Kathy, what could this do? Well, if her parting gift from Disney is her executive producer credits on Indy 5 are guaranteed, which I promise you they will be, because you have to understand that, and I know Steven Spielberg's name is still attached to this. It doesn't matter. It's in name only, just so they can say Steven Spielberg is producing, and when in fact he probably has little to nothing to do with this movie at this point at all. He's walked away from it because of Kathy, again. And Frank Marshall, of course, is another producer, and Frank is Kathy's husband. So this is what is going to keep it engaged. I don't expect that to change. However, she may get a bit of extension from Lucasfilm to stay on, to be involved creatively even after her contract expires, just because of this delay. If this is really going to be delayed 90 days and shooting does not pick up again until September 1st or mid-September or late September at this point, potentially, if the article is correct again, then that's going to put her within 30 days of her exiting Lucasfilm. And I can promise you the plan was from get-go, especially as this year progressed and as the delays of Indy 5 from last year's lockdown continued, was to make sure that principal photography and as much of post-production work would have been completed before October 30th when her contract expired. And at this point, that's obviously in great jeopardy. She was already pushing the clock as it was, but now it's even closer. So this has got to be a bad day for Kathy. I'm sure she's not real happy about this. But anyway, this one's already run long enough, guys. Haven't had time to make a video in the last week. Been real busy. But again, I appreciate you being here. Please hit that like and subscribe. Share this video out if you enjoyed it. And until next time, take care.